of hats that I wear in terms of entrepreneurship, leadership, etc. And so as I wear those different hats, it's interesting because I consistently find myself in a position of leadership, in a position of authority. And even when I'm trying to be behind the scenes, hang out in the back of the room somewhere, I find myself someone pulling me to that position. And I'm not complaining at all. It's just an honor, it's a privilege, but sometimes you're just there to serve and you're there to absorb. You're there as a student. So I say that to say, even as I try to sometimes hang back and maybe be behind the scenes in certain areas, it doesn't, I still like my privacy. But as I'm building a brand and building a personal brand, building several different businesses, I'm realizing the disconnect, whether it be in my content, whether it be in an email, whether it be, no matter where it is that gap of people getting to know me. And that requires me to be more vulnerable. So we're going to just hop into it. So if you got anybody that, like, hey, James is about to really, and I shouldn't build a suspense like that. Like I'm getting ready to drop some massive bomb. Because it's not that I'm dropping any kind of massive bomb here. It's just the fact that I just don't talk a lot about my personal life. So that being said, let's talk about the significance of today. So the significance of today, the significance of April 10th is this is the day that my biological father would have been celebrating his birthday. So my biological father, if you guys follow my story or know anything about me, my biological father passed a week after my 16th birthday. So I felt that the title of this is the process of pressure, because what I'm noticing and what I thought you're talking about started going to now. My dad died a week after I was 16. So if we do some math, I didn't start dealing with that. And when I say dealing, I was dealing with it mentally, but I didn't deal. It was more so dealing with me. I didn't deal with it for about 5 or 6 years. So understand that there are going to be things as an entrepreneur that are dealing with you, but you put them on the shelf, you push them down, you push them to the side. You aren't dealing with them. So you got to understand the difference between that. That's my first point. When something's trying to deal with you, do you actually address it? Do you acknowledge it? Or do you just push it down, push it to the side, stay in your head? Or do you actually start dealing with it? So even though my dad passed in 2000, a week after my 16th birthday, I didn't say 5, 6, 7 years was when I started dealing with it. So it wasn't until I started dealing with it. When I say deal with it, found a therapist, found a grief counselor. That wasn't a thing. It wasn't as relevant, or I would say prevalent, as it is now. Mental health wasn't at all a topic of discussion. So I didn't understand the impact over the last 6 to 7 years that it had on me as an individual, as a teenager, as a young man, as the future impact that it would have on me. Had no idea. So that was building up. I had no thing. Tragedies, yes. I mean, 1,000,000% true. Tragedies affect us. And I want to say life affects us. So the highs, the lows, all that affects us for years to come in an unknown way. A lot of us don't realize that we're doing things today because of things that we've been through 2 years, 3 years, 10 years, 20 years, things that we've blocked out. So I want to talk about, the fact that I'm thinking, I very rarely, you guys didn't hear anything. You didn't see anything. If you follow me, I didn't say anything about my birthday. Sometimes I celebrate my birthday publicly. Sometimes I celebrate my birthday privately. Sometimes I don't celebrate my birthday at all because of the nuance of my dad having passed right around that time. So sometimes I'm feeling like $1,000,000. Sometimes I'm just like, hey, it just is what it is. And you would think, at least I would have thought, like, man, this has been 20 plus years. Like, you good. Like, move on. It's one of those things where I have a hard conversation with myself. Like, get over this. Like, you're good. And I will be good. But as I enter different seasons of life, I realize that I'm either experiencing a new, I don't even say it's not even grief. It's just a different level of acknowledgement. It's a different level of, man, I wish you were here because I'm experiencing this, and I wish you were a part of this, or you got to acknowledge this, or you got to see this, or you got to meet this person, or we got to laugh about this. And so that builds a sense of pressure. And I have to adequately learn how to process that. In order to process it, the first thing we're going to talk about tonight and in talking about this is, how do I identify it? A lot of people don't even know how to identify pressure. And I want to say it like this. I remember my dad died of a heart attack. And don't worry, I'm not trying to make anybody feel bad. I'm not trying to keep it dreary. We're gonna bring it up a little bit, but and I'm fine in that regard. So it's not a topic that I can't discuss. My dad died of a heart attack, so that's important because my uncle a few years later also died of a heart attack. And so one day I'm driving, I'm in the car, and I reached for my chest as I remember where I was. I remember the exit I was getting off of. I was getting off the exit. I reached for my chest. And I was like, oh, I'm about to call 911. I called my parents. I said, listen, this is where I am right now. I'm about to call 911. Just want to let you guys know I'm going to pull over on the side of the road. I'm having crazy chest pain. And so in my mind, I didn't want to say that I was having a heart attack, but I was like, what is this? This is what I'm feeling. I'm feeling an immense amount of pain. Well, here's the thing. I didn't know this then, but the pain was directly in the center of my chest. So it wasn't until I started doing research and understanding more about myself, my body, the human body in general, that was esophageal pain. And so it was more so related to the fact that I was dealing with heartburn. Now, my mom told me, she said, I think you have heartburn. She says, that's what it sounds like. Now, can you imagine you're calling someone and the response, my initial response was, I'm having chest pain. This could be a heart attack. Now, let's talk about that. I was trying to identify that, but a lot of times we identify where we are based off of where we've been or what we've experienced. All right. So if you're taking notes, I want you to understand that a lot of times we identify where we are right now, what I was going through in that moment. I based it off of what I had previously experienced. I had experienced my dad having a heart attack. I experienced my grandfather having a heart attack. I experienced my uncle having a heart attack. So I took that on myself and said, this must be what I'm experiencing in this moment. Because I've lost several men in my life to heart attacks. So this chest pain has to be that. It's been that I had to be experiencing the same thing they're experiencing. And we do that as entrepreneurs. We look around and go, oh, well, my friends experienced this or someone else has experienced this. And we take on the pressure that's happened around us. And we say, oh, you know what? Environmentally, if they dealt with this and they dealt with this and they dealt with this, it must be affecting me the exact same way. And I realized this was just my first time having heartburn. Guys, I had heartburn, but thought that I was actually going into cardiac, like I was like, my heart is shutting down. And I don't know if you guys have ever experienced, a bad case of heartburn, but that pain was so bad that that's what I thought. And I didn't know any better. The reason I didn't know any better because I had never experienced that amount of pressure. I never experienced that heartburn. I never experienced that pain before. And so not experiencing it made me think it was bigger and more important and more significant than it actually was. So I would go to Walgreens, get me. I think I got some Tums and got some like Prilosec or something like that. And next thing you know, a couple hours later, I'm good. And then I start to realize, wow. I didn't even realize right then. Here, wait for it. I don't know, some years later, I had heartburn. Didn't realize initially that was heartburn, but then I remember I said, oh, I identified it. So I learned now how to identify this is heartburn. So I identified it was heartburn, but get this. I'm just being black now for all my black people on here, I was being black as black could be. I immediately drank ginger ale because y'all know what do we think as black people? We think what? Ginger ale. Get in the comments if somebody told you, if mama, grandmama, auntie, somebody, tell me, has somebody in your life told you that ginger ale was the cure for everything? Like legit, if you're sick, ginger ale. So I said, you know what? I'm gonna drink me some ginger ale. And for some reason, I don't even know why, but I drank ginger ale. I think a little later I had some coffee and I had some chocolate. Unbeknownst, every time it's getting worse and worse and worse. So it was more acidic foods that I'm putting in here. So the chocolate made it worse. The coffee made it worse. The carbonation made it worse. All of these things are making my heartburn worse. And I'm like, what in the world is going on? So now I went from being able to identify, okay, this is what caused this. This isn't a heart attack. This is indigestion. This is just gas. Like, or excuse me, this is indigestion. So I'm having heartburn right now. And this heartburn feels like I honestly thought in that moment years ago that I was having a heart attack. So it felt like that. And entrepreneurs, there's a lot of stuff that you're going through for the first time, and it feels worse than it actually is. It feels like that you are actually this amount of pressure that you can't handle it. And based on the fact that you've looking what everyone else around you has gone through, you're like, wait a second. Am I going through what they went through? They lost their business like this. They had to go back to corporate when they went through this. And so then you start looking more at what everyone else, you look at your environment instead of looking at yourself. And you start going, wait a second, am I them? Am I, you make your experience, you take exactly what you're experiencing and you make it about other people and what they've experienced. Even though it looks like it, it's not actually it. So then you identify, okay, I'm not going through exactly what they're going through. What I'm going through looks like it, feels like it, but it's not actually it. Then after you identify it, you have to understand what triggers it, what causes it. Because I didn't know what caused heartburn for me. I didn't understand. And so one of the things that it was is I was eating and laying straight down. I was eating super late at night and just going straight to sleep. And then all of that acid reflux, I'm like, oh man. So I had to learn, okay, rule number one, don't eat and go straight to bed. As an entrepreneur, when you're experiencing pressure, when that pressure comes on you, it doesn't matter what it is, you have to realize I've got to understand and create some rules to protect myself because you're going to feel that pressure start to mount up. You're going to feel that pressure start to feel like it's overtaking you, and you got to be able to identify and go, wait a second, what this pressure that's building up, where is it coming from? Once I identify it, what causes it? And this is for every walk of life. It's the same thing with fitness. It's the same thing with working out. When I'm working out, my brain tells me, "Hey, man, this is hard. This, especially after I sustained a lifetime injury years ago. And so sometimes when I'm doing certain things, bench pressing or chest pressing, I'm like, you've got hurt before. Don't do this." And I hear that, but I have to tell myself, wait a second, you know that this isn't like that time. And you know that this is different. And you know how to identify it. And you know what to do to prevent this from happening again. So that comes down to, like I said, the first thing you have to do, thank you all for just now tuning in. And I'm talking about essentially the process of pressure. I took the time to talk about this today because this would have been my dad's birthday. Um, my dad would have been, I believe it's 76 this year. And so today would have been his birthday. So in honor of that, I'm doing something that I haven't done. I don't even share personal information like that. So in the process of being more vulnerable and in talking to you guys and communicate with you guys, building a relationship, I want to lead from the front because I tell my clients all the time, I'm like, yeah, you got to be more vulnerable. You got to be more open, be more honest. And I'm not even honest. This might not be the word because it's not about dishonesty. It's just about the fact of being able to share things that are personal. That's something that I just don't do. I draw a very, very thick line on that. So, in dealing with and processing today, that this is my dad's birthday, and as much as I miss him, I was like, how can I share the pressure or the buildup of missing him, along with being present with the gratitude of what's going on in my life. So that's the next thing. We talk about how to identify it. I want to talk to you about how to withstand it. How do I withstand that pressure? How do I persevere? Well, I'm a firm believer in the fact that we think stress is bad. Do me a favor in the comments, if you when you hear the word stress, I just want you to tell me the first thing that comes to mind. Do you think good or do you think bad? And you can say good or bad, you can say positive or negative. When you hear that word stress, just the word stress, what do you think? Like, does it send a good connotation or does it send more of a bad or negative connotation? Let me know. Let me know what you guys think because I want to know. I want to speak to that. If you're anything like me, when I hear it, whether it be you're going to the doctor, it's a stress test. When you go and think about work and things like that, it's stressful. When you think about relationships, people, family, friends, loved ones, it's like, man, I don't want to talk to them. It's just so much stress. When you think about I'm stressed out, when you hear that or you say that or hear someone else say that, do you think this is a good thing? Both, but more so bad. Bad. Thank you. So yeah, and that's how I feel. I it for felt for a long time. I was like, man, when I hear I'm stressed, or somebody asked me, man, are you stressed? And I took it and I perceived it to be a bad thing. And here's the thing: stress does not have to be bad. Stress is a process of applying pressure. Okay. So it's like when we put something under stress, it's under tension. When I think about working out, fitness, especially a high intensity workout, the ones we do in my gym, it's stressful. Like you're putting the body under stress. So we have to understand that stress is essentially pressure. And stress is not bad. And now there are types of stress that we can put ourselves under pressure that we're not prepared for. So the fact of the matter, what's up, boss? What's up, Eric? The fact of the matter is, it's not about putting ourselves under stress or pressure. It's about putting ourselves under pressure that we are prepared for. And the fact of the matter is, I'm seeing a lot of entrepreneurs, saying they're either leaving or they're going back to corporate, or they're shutting their business down, or they're getting a part-time job because they are not adequately prepared for the pressure that entrepreneurship brings. And do me a favor, drop a one in here if you are an entrepreneur. Just put a one in here and in a chat and let me know, yes, I'm an entrepreneur, because I know some of you on here I've talked to, and I know that you're entrepreneurs. Some of those, I don't know what you do. So I want to know, because that's really what I'm speaking to. But if I have more people in corporate, I want to speak to that as well. But the fact of the matter is this. Great. We got some entrepreneurs in here. Excellent. So in terms of that, if you perceive this, if you look at this and go, wait a second, how am I perceiving this? How am I looking at this? What is this? It's kind of like, because perception is everything. Is this really stressing me out? Or is it the fact that I'm just not prepared? So let's think about it for a second. You go to the gym and you put that bar on your back and you're getting ready to do squats. And the most you've ever squatted is 150 pounds. But I load up double that. I put 300 pounds on there. That stress that you weren't prepared for. And then that stress, when I tell you, hey, go ahead and do it, you can do it, and you try to do it, there is a chance that you're going to get injured. There's a chance that you're going to get hurt if you go ahead and try to do that. Why? Because you have not prepared yourself. You cannot go from what you were doing 150 to 200%. Going, I'm going to just jump in and do 300. You have to get prepared by doing what? Showing up every single day to the gym and doing variations of squats, and every day putting yourself under amount of pressure. So it's like week one, maybe I go up to about 70% of that. Then week two, 75%. Then week three, 80%. Week four, 85%. Week five, 90%. Week six, 95%. Week seven, we're just at 100% now of what we did. Now, week eight, maybe 105%. Week 9, 100 and probably 7%. Week 10, 110%. So it's going to take us 10 weeks roughly, almost 3 months, a whole quarter, until we can increase our ability to handle that pressure just by 10%. So in other words, just to be clear, when you're at 110%, roughly 3 months later, you're only lifting, instead of the 150, you're doing about probably 165. And in the world of working out, fitness, strength, that's huge. You increase that lift by 10%, your max lift, the most you can do. But for some reason, we put ourselves under an insane amount of pressure and the word of entrepreneurship to go, oh, and personally to think, oh, I've got to get over this. I've got to, I told you guys, for those of you that's now tuning in, I'm talking about the process of pressure. And I took today to talk about this because today would have been my biological father's birthday, or is my biological father's birthday, but he's not here to celebrate it because he passed years ago. And so I had to realize that even though he's been deceased for over 20 years, it still affects me. There's still pressure, and I had to still prepare myself. I still have to go to therapy. I still have to read books. I still have to fast. I still have to pray. I still have to understand. I have to identify. I have to journal and go, wait a second, how is this affecting me? But a lot of us, especially people of color, I think other people do this too, but I know in my household growing up, and this was a big thing in the Black community, that we just push stuff down and we don't acknowledge it. And I believe that's why we've dealt with so much heart disease in the Black community, so many other health issues, because there were things that we just didn't talk about outside of the house. We just said, oh, no, we keep this at home. We don't talk about this. We just talk about it at home. And then at home, we don't adequately talk about it. So that stuff starts to build up, and then it starts to manifest itself in all kinds of health related diseases. But that's a conversation for another day. Today, we're talking about the process of these things building up, because all of a sudden, guys, and I have clients going through all kinds of things. I had a client navigating multiple clients navigating lawsuits. And they were talking to me like, you act like this isn't a big deal. No, because I've been there. But you don't know until you've been there, until you've been under that amount of pressure, under that amount of stress. And you just saw me break it down to you in fitness. It's just like you're trying to lose weight, the same thing. People are like, hey, I want to, I've been in the fitness industry for the last 20 plus years. And so if you guys are hearing some of this fitness and nutrition and exercise, that's where that's coming from. So I want you to know that, because I'm actually qualified to speak on that. But someone might come in a gym and say, hey, I want to lose 30 pounds. How long? Maybe can I get off in like 2 months? Did you put it on in 2 months? Well, I put it on over the last 3 years. It don't take us 3 years to get it off. But why are you trying to get off 3 years of damage in 2 to 3 months? Why are you entrepreneurs trying to make up in 90 days the last 2 years? Why are you can't handle that kind of pressure. There's a process to that. That's possible for some people. It is definitely possible, but it's possible for people who show up and put in that work. Like I said, you're going to look foolish getting in the squat rack, and the most you've ever done is 150 pounds on a squat, and telling them to load up the bar to 300, 400 pounds. It's not a thing. So the first thing I talked about for you just joining me in the process of pressure is, number one, how to identify pressure. Number two, I talked about how to withstand it. So we withstand that pressure by increasing it incrementally, becoming prepared. So if it's like, you know what, for some of you, it might be public speaking. Okay. So I'm just going to practice going live. I'm going to go live every day. Then it goes from going live, I'm going to invite, 10 people over and speak here, or 15 people and speak there. Then I'm going to go and try to speak in front of a 20, 30 person audience, then 100 people, then 50 people. And you just keep practicing it. And you're going to see the point of pressure where your nerves, your stress, your anxiety, and there's always going to be a first time where you do something. And that's going to more than likely be the hardest time. And then all of a sudden, people think, oh, it got easier. It got easier. No, don't discredit that. It did not get easier. Okay? You're getting better. And you need to acknowledge that. Lifting weights doesn't necessarily get easier for me. When someone watches me in the gym today, I think I went up to 315 on back squats, and I think I did it for 12 reps. 12 reps, it was 315, 12 reps. It wasn't much. It wasn't bad. Not it didn't really cause a huge challenge for me. Definitely not a challenge for me mentally. Why? Because I've squatted double that and then some. So because I've put myself under much larger loads and much more pressure, when I got to that 300 and some pounds, it was like, oh, this isn't a big deal. If you as an entrepreneur want to understand how to break down or excuse me, how to keep from breaking down when things get hard, you're going to have to put yourself under pressure. Okay. You're going to have to say, you know what? I welcome pressure. Now, when I say that, I don't mean do this foolishly. I don't mean just go out here and just start doing crazy stuff. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you're going to have to get outside your comfort zone, just like I'm doing now. As the people that, if you were on this live earlier, you heard me talking about things personally, things that I never share. I don't share things about my personal life. So that's something that I'm not comfortable doing, but I'm learning how to do it. I'm learning to be okay with it. And I'm learning that if I want to actually build a relationship with the virtual, you guys on the interweb and the internet's out here, I'm going to have to share more. And because that's the only way you're going to actually get to know me. Other than me just feeling like you tuning into my content and feel like I'm yelling at you. Because that's not the case. The case is I'm passionate. So a lot of these things come from a place of passion, and you understand that when you start to understand my story and what I've been through and what made me essentially who I am. So as I was talking about this, I said, we learn how to identify it. What is the pressure? What causes it? The second thing is how to withstand it. I told you how to withstand pressure. So if you all are just joining, thank you all for showing up. You go back, you'll begin to watch this. I will post this. I'm going to tell you exactly step by step, like, look, incrementally, how do we have to do this incrementally? We can't just jump in there and just go for broke. You have to, in entrepreneurship is going to make you or it's going to break you. It's up to you. But if you think it's going to be simple, if you think it's going to be easy, honey, forget what you see. It's just like Instagram, okay? I want you to understand entrepreneurship is there's a huge filter on entrepreneurship. I know how you can go to Instagram and you can select all these different filters. Every single time somebody puts a post up for entrepreneurship, it's a 99% chance they're putting a filter on it. They're giving you the filtered version. They're giving you this clean, crisp Brita water filtered version after all the junk has been filtered out. So they don't tell you how many times they were crying during a launch. They don't tell you how many times they could barely make rent. They don't tell you that their car probably got repossessed in the process. They don't tell you that while the first 2 years they were running their business, that they were also door dashing and doing Uber Eats and driving Uber and Lyft. They don't tell you any of those things because a lot of people are embarrassed about that. So they don't make that transparent. They just show you when they're on the jet skis and the yachts and when they're traveling internationally. And the fact is that if we don't follow this and understand what causes this amount of pressure, then we're going to lose focus. And that's the final point that I want to make. I talked to you about how to identify it. I'll talk to you about how to withstand it. The final thing is I want to talk to you about staying focused. So I've been really toying with the idea, and actually, it's not a lot of you on here, but I want to ask, if I do a small event here, I'm in my HQ in Charlotte. So if those of you that haven't been to Charlotte, Charlotte's gorgeous. I think we're one of the top 10 fastest growing cities in the country right now. But I have actually been thinking about it because I asked a lot of entrepreneurs, my clients, and then people just randomly. Sometimes I'll just DM people, I'll comment. And I asked them, did you get everything out of Q1 that you want? Most people said a lot. Pretty much everyone was like, no, I didn't get everything that I wanted. And I said, why? They said, because I lost focus. So do me a favor and tell me in this chat, tell me, do you ever feel like in entrepreneurship that you have trouble staying focused? Just jump in the comments and let me know. You guys on YouTube watching this, jump on the comments and let me know. Yes or no, James? Yes, I have trouble staying focused. Nah, bro, I'm good. If I say I'm gonna do it, everything I say in a day, I check it off. I'm good. But if you're watching this, you're an entrepreneur or in general, I want to know, do you struggle or do you find it challenging at times to say, focus? So I want to know that. Absolutely. Yeah. Kids, it will definitely pull your focus. There are so many things that can pull your focus. Pressure can pull your focus. Today, over the course of the weekend, as I'm realizing that, today, April 10th was coming and that it was my biological father's birthday, my dad's birthday, I'm like, man, I think I miss him. And it wasn't a I think. I definitely knew that I missed him. I definitely knew that I wish I could pick up the phone and call him and say happy birthday. And I said, you know what? I'm gonna hold myself accountable to sharing these thoughts. I think that it needs to happen more from entrepreneurs. I think it needs to happen more with Black men. That we need a place to be open, to be honest, to share things that are going on. Yep, some of you guys are tuning in. Yes, yes, I have my moments. Exactly, I feel you, man. And I'm gonna tell you the truth. Like it doesn't matter. Life is going to keep lifing no matter what. Life does not care. And so when I woke up this morning, I was like, I think I'm good. And then I go on and I started feeling, a mixture of emotions. I have to learn how to process all of that, the pressure from those emotions, those thoughts, while still functioning and running multiple businesses. And that's just the business side. That's not showing up in every other capacity in my life. So you got to understand that we're not getting into boyfriends and girlfriends and husbands and wives and mothers and fathers and sisters and brothers and uncles and aunts and friends. We're not talking about everyone else that's going to be pulling on you. We're talking about you just showing up for you. And then that pressure that builds up when you're trying to do that, and you go, wait, well, so James, so if I know how to identify the pressure, if I know how to withstand the pressure, then how do I remain focused during that? Well, first of all, let's talk about the story that pressure is going to tell you. We think that pressure is not necessary. A lot of times we think that we don't need to be it's everyone seems like on the internet, a large percentage, we're talking about the soft life and avoiding, if it's hard, you don't have to do it. We've become obsessed with this soft life. But a lot, if we don't have a very clear conversation, it's not that I'm against the soft life, but I want to know, how are you going? If you don't build up a tolerance for this, you're going to succumb to it. You have to build up a tolerance for life, a tolerance for entrepreneurship. Because if not, you're never going to get better. Every time you get to that point where you think things are going well, something's going to break loose, something's going to happen. And see, the point of the word breakthrough means we're at the point, we're at that brink. Things are about to break, and we're either going to break through it and get to the other side, or it's going to break us. So we have to understand there's going to be, the break is coming. Are you going to break through it and get to the other side? Or is that pressure going to break you? And I don't want that pressure to break you. I don't want that pressure to cause you to have an anxiety attack or manifest itself in other types of health conditions, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes. And so it can show up in so many other ways. And mental health, feeling like, you know what, I'm done with entrepreneurship. I'm just walking away. And we're seeing that. We're seeing that all across the board. And I'm not knocking those people. I'm not speaking ill of those people. That is a real thing. You do have to know, when you're looking at those cards, you got to know when to hold those cards. You got to know when to fold those cards. But I want to teach you how to be able to hold those cards and play your best hand longer, despite the pressure. And the way you do that is I teach focus by breaking down the acronym FAST. Okay. So a lot of us focus on what we don't have. And this is where I'm going into a whole nother live right now. So what I'm going to do is just break down fast, and I'm going to wrap this up. Fast stands, and for those of you that are, you like to take stuff that ain't yours, this is something that is mine and actually getting trademarked. So don't make me send my lawyer after you. So that being said, now that you've heard it, fast is focused actions on strengths over time. So F is focused. So we got to go, okay, First thing I got to do is identify what do I need to get done this week? What am I trying to get done? And when I'm trying to get stuff done, I already know there's something that's going to interrupt this. So if you got kids, you go, wait a second. Somebody put in the comments and said, man, it's hard to stay focused when you have kids. All right. So if I have something to do and I know that I'm going to have children, my kids around me, then I got to go, wait a second. When's the best time to do this? So I'm not, alienating myself as a parent, as a mom and a dad, and I can be there for my children, but I can also make sure I get done what I want to get done. So I got to look at that and I got to identify, okay, I'm going to do this in the morning or late at night or while they're at school or while they're with this person or with that person. And then I say, well, what is it that I'm doing? Focused actions. I need to do the most actionable thing, the thing that brings the most results. A lot of you are doing busy work, and busy work is not it. You can't do that. You have to go, wait, focus actions on strengths over time. When I feel that pressure, if I could go all the way back to when my dad had passed and realize that every one of his birthdays that I was going to be experiencing pain and almost every one of his birthdays going, man, I feel some kind of way. If I knew back then what I knew now, I wouldn't have waited 6, 7 years to find a therapist. I wouldn't have waited 6, 7 years to find a grief counselor. I would have taken friends, family, loved ones through that. I would have said, oh, honey, but I didn't know. So I want to make sure that you guys understand, this is the way that I'm celebrating my dad's birthday is by sharing with the world, hey, I've undergone pressure. And I want to talk to you about that, the process of that. So in that, for those of you that are coming on, um, being a bit more vulnerable, something that I don't talk about a lot in a lot of my lives, but today would have been my dad's birthday. Hard to articulate. It's like would have been or is, but nevertheless, you get my point. And he passed years ago, but even in that, there's still pressure that builds up. There's pressure that shows up. So I talked in the beginning of this live about how to identify the pressure. The next thing I talked about is how to withstand that pressure. And now we're talking about how to stay focused when under pressure. So I said the first thing we do is we focus on our actions. So you might not have a ton of time because you know what? You're stressed. You got a lot on your mind. You got family, you got friends, you got loved ones, you got kids, you got the spouse, you got people stuff coming at you. So as it comes at you, what do? You say, okay, I only have 2 to 3 hours a day or 45 minutes a day or whatever. I have to focus my actions on my strengths. So your strengths are, I teach my clients to make a big money statement. And so the big money statement is I make big money when. All right. So I make big money when. And that's when what? So I make big money when I am speaking. That's one of the things that causes me to make big money. So if you're a writer, I make big money when I write. So you got to think if you're a teacher, I make big money when I teach. And I fill that up with three things. I'm not going to go down that road and break that down to you. But that's what when you say I make big money when I do these things, those are the action items. Those are the things that move the needle in your business. Okay. If you make money big money when you do sales, that's one of the action items that you need to be doing. You need to be focusing on doing more sales that week. If you make big money when you create content, that's the action item. Boom. Don't focus on, oh, I need to become a better this and I need to become a better that and I need to work on it. No, that is self-improvement. Self-improvement goes into another part of our day. And I put self-improvement in the latter part of my day because you know what? It is hard to focus on becoming a better person when you're broke. It is hard to focus on becoming a better person when your bills aren't paid, when your car is getting repossessed, when your rent is late. It is very hard to start working on yourself when all those things are going on. So what do you have to do? You got to go, wait a second. Life is a lot easier if I'm making money. So what is my big money statement? How do I stay focused with all this pressure? Okay, we identify what are the one or two things that I can do today while under this amount of pressure that can move me forward. Like if I only do two things, I got a husband and wife on here and I'm friends with both of them. So I know, I talked to Maite back in, I think September, October, and I was encouraging her to bounce and leave her job. Why? Because I knew, and then there was an associated amount of pressure with that. She's like, what about this? And what about this? And what about this? And I said, what about the opportunity costs? What about what's not happening? What about what you're missing out on? And guys, on the opposite side of that pressure, what happens if I let it break me instead of getting my breakthrough? Okay? Because you're going to meet up with it. And I told you, when you meet up with it, it either pressure either breaks you or you get a breakthrough. So that's it. You got to understand that. And in order to get that breakthrough, you got to put in those reps. You got to say, listen, I'm only going to take focus action on my strengths. I'm not going to focus on my weaknesses right now. There are things that I need to get better at. Okay. I need to get better at my delivery on here, but I'm going to make sure that I say what? I said I was going to go live. I said I was going to go live on my dad's birthday. I said, this is what I'm going to talk about. I had 100 things happen today. Team, I said, hey, y'all send an email about me going live? Somebody's like, no, I think, did you get, I could have said, you know what? It's okay. We'll go live tomorrow. No, focus actions on strengths over time. So if you keep focusing on, take focus actions on the things that you are great at, the things that you're better than everyone else at, and you do it over and over and over and over, favor is going to fall towards the diligent. And the next thing you know, when it's time to take that test again, boom, there's a breakthrough. But you are not, it doesn't matter if it's in fitness, it doesn't matter if it's in business, it doesn't matter if it's in your relationship. I can promise you pressure will burst pipes, guys. Okay? So you have to look at that and go, wait a second. How am I going to stay focused? James, how do you stay focused in the midst of adversity? Guys, if I told you everything that was going on in my life, I got COVID last July. I had severe insomnia for August, September, October, November, December. I think I didn't get, I wear this little Whoop tracker. If I showed you my Whoop, I wasn't sleeping. It was not registering for me sleeping until about Octoberish. And then even then I was getting sleep. I would only get sleep when I was fast for 3 to 7 days. And then I would be able to get a full night's rest. And we're talking melatonin. I was taking everything. I've probably been to the doctor from December to now 24 times. I've been to cardiologists. I've been to the sleep doctor. I've been to the pulmonologist. You name every ologist, I feel like I've seen them. And it was building pressure up because, guys, I lost my dad to a heart attack. So here I am with a little girl, and I'm like, well, what's going on? And I've got a strong belief system. I got a lot of faith. But the fact is, I talked to one of my best friends. We have same date of birth. She said to me, she said, everything you're seeing is a sign of COVID, and we see it in a very small percentage of people, but everything that you're dealing with is directly related to COVID. I woke up and I was like, why am I fat? Why is my stomach? Where did abs go? Where I was dialing everything in. Boom. It was like I was up almost 30 pounds. Nutrition hadn't changed. So all of these things, it was stress after stress. Then on top of that, I was at January, driving, focused. I was in the rain. Somebody clips me, hit and run, total lost my truck. It was just one thing after another, after another. I'm just giving you so many things that have consistently continued to happen in my life. And it was hard. Like there were times I was like, you know what? I'm not doing high performance weekend. You know what? There was a point where I thought, and that's it. That right? It broke me. I didn't break through. And that's not and I don't want you to understand, because there was a season where I used to beat myself up. There was a season as a high performance coach where I put a lot of pressure on myself to keep showing up and not to know that, hey, sometimes you just got to take a break. Sometimes you just got to go for a walk. Sometimes you just got to just deep breathe, sit your behind down somewhere. And I will tell you what severe insomnia will have you do: sitting your behind down. My team will tell you, like, I literally would be walking, and if I stopped walking for a second, I would fall asleep like that, drop my phone while on the phone. And when my phone hit the ground, that's how I wake up. I would hear it. I'd be like, what happened? I was essentially losing time. And So my doctor said, "Yeah, you've developed now sleep apnea." I was snoring. I sounded like a. It sounded like the soundtrack to Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Like it literally sounded like a full chainsaw when I was sleeping. I started recording, and I'm like, "What is going on?" It was scary. I was waking up, scaring myself. All of this is pressure, guys. And I'm telling you what was happening in the reality of it. Guess what was happening in my mind? Guess what's happening? Like, man, I'm calling, checking on my daughter's trust fund. I'm calling to make sure I'm properly insured. I'm checking. Little things started happening. Then I got a grip and I said, wait a second. I remembered who I was. I remember who I belonged to. I said, no, this is I am this. And it was loved ones, friend. Every time I turned around, it was something else adding to this level of pressure, adding to this level of stress. It might have been somebody on my team, and we didn't do this. And I'm like, what is going on? And I realized I have to stay focused. And I realized I still have to take focused actions on my strengths. So I said, what am I good at? Then I said, what am I great at? Then I said, what am I beyond great at? What am I better than 99% of humans? And one of those things is understanding the mind, being able to go inside the mind and break things down in such a manner that it's a unique perspective that I have, that I believe that's God giving me, that's innate. That's when I hear it differently than a lot of other people. So I said, well, I need to do that for myself. And once I came to that realization, I was like, woo, y'all in trouble now. That was my process of pressure. Everyone's going to go through a process, guys. It's not a straight line. As an entrepreneur, you're going to have ups, you're going to have downs, you're going to have lulls, you're going to have peaks, you're going to have valleys. You're not going to always have your best revenue quarter. You're not going to always have your best. You can't banner year every year, okay? And even in the process of making more, because my businesses I'll see them where they're making more and more and more every year. That, guess what? It's still a cost associated with that. Okay, so there's something to attribute for that growth. There's an amount of stress and pressure that myself and my team and the people around me have to succumb to. And if you don't succumb to that, remember, you're never going to get better. If you guys keep trying to pursue the soft life and say, you know what, I'm trying to avoid all pressure, prepare to be in the same place next year. But once I came to who I was and realized who I was and said, okay, I know this is where I'm beyond great. This is where I need to turn my attention. And that is why I said, we're in trouble. The devil's in trouble. People around me in trouble, because I love it. I literally take pressure, pour it in a bowl, and say, okay, I got to eat this. And you can do that because what? You realize it's not there. Pressure's coming to break you. But guess what you're there to do? You're there to break through it. So once you realize, wait, stress isn't bad. You just have to apply this principle, right? Okay, I want to teach you this and I'm out. Stress and rest. So if I say, listen, I'm under a period of stress for 2 days, 3 days, a week, I have to have a period of rest that is equal to that. And I don't mean equal to that in terms of just days, because it might be you're under stress for 1 week and you need to rest for 2 weeks. But you got to understand, if you're running that car at 100 miles an hour, eventually we're going to need gas. Eventually, we're going to need to rotate the tires. Eventually, we're going to need to check the oil. Eventually, we're going to need to check the water. Why? Because that car can't run that fast consistently for days and days and days. And this is the vehicle. This is the car. And so and for those of you that are like me, you're like, I'm not a car, I'm a plane. I want to go 500, 400, 500 miles an hour. Then guess what? Same thing applies. So for that period of stress, we got to sit down and go, wait a second. I got to have a period of rest, and they won't always be equal. All right. You got to understand that sometimes and when we get into it, I don't want to take you into the science of it too deep, but I rate as a body understanding what's happening to them on a hormonal level. So a lot of you have a dose that's extreme high. What no one prepared you for was the extreme low. And I don't care who you are. I don't care. I've got some amazing friends that are Navy SEALs, that are contractors. I have friends that have been on the pro stages of the NBA playoffs, that have been to the Super Bowl. I've trained some of those people, Olympic athletes. Everyone deals with it. At the higher the high, the lower the low. And no one talks to you about that low. I mean, this is chemical, guys. This is going to happen. It's called the trough. When you go all the way up, that down period is called the trough. So the low, and what happens is we get into the trough, we don't know how to get out of it. We don't even know that we're there. And so all we're doing is trying to get that high again. It's very similar to if you know anyone that's unfortunately addicted to drugs, you'll see that trying to chase that high. We do the exact same thing in life and in entrepreneurship. Keep the habit, but I don't have to myself down. Okay, and guys, it took me a long time to realize this. You go down on YouTube far enough, you put in enough keywords, you're going to see where I've torn muscles, where I've had threatening injuries, and all because I just kept putting things in my life under an insane amount of stress. And I would have breakthroughs, but I would go from one thing to the next, and I would not allow that trough. As soon as I would get in the trough, I would go, how do I get back up? Let's go. Come on. And I'm just now getting to that point as I've studied it. I knew it, but I didn't have an application of it. And knowing is not good enough. We say knowledge is power. It is not. The application of knowledge is power. Okay? I need you to understand that knowledge is not power. Because we got the library would be the most powerful place on earth. And we have to apply it, the application of that knowledge. Today is April 10th. Happy birthday to my dad. I hope that this was beneficial to you all. So for those of you that just came on, today would have been my dad's birthday, or is my dad's birthday. And even in processing the fact that he has been dead now over 20 years, it's still challenging. I still deal with those things. I still deal with the pressure of that, the things that I wish I could have gotten from him, the things that I wish he were here for and experience and talk to me about and give me insight, etc. But in that pressure, I don't allow it to break me. I still can move forward. I'm not shutting down. I'm taking those things and I'm turning those things, that adversity, into my advantage. And I want to share that with you all. So if you found that beneficial, do me a favor. Once I post this, comment, let me know, because I want to do a series on. A lot of you said, hey, we have trouble with focus. And I really think that's one of the things, trying to find a way to stay focused and not understanding how to ride that wave of highs and lows and go, wait a second, how do I navigate this? James, when I'm at my lows and I still need to make money and still need to be there for my family, friends, and loved ones, how do I do it? And I want to show you, I want to tell you how to do it. I want to teach you that. So what I want to do, actually, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to commit to it on here, is I'm going to let you guys pull up on me at my HQ, and I just select a handful of people because we can't have a full event. But I have what I call a micro event, and I just want a round table, just sit down and teach and pour into people, because I've been an entrepreneur now, man, since full-time since 2006. So what is that? Almost 20 years of full-time entrepreneurship. I want to help you guys make some mistakes. Tell me this, if I have a live event where I'm talking about focus and teaching you what to focus on so you can run your business pretty much in a 4-hour day, and you don't have to do 12-hour days like I did for the longest and trying to burn yourself out and do everything. If I can show you how to do those things and show you how to focus and show you the mindset that you need to create to become the person that runs that business, and teach what I call my 360 CEO focus method. If I did that, would you guys pull up on me? Let me know that. Tell me that. If that sounds like something like, oh, as an entrepreneur, I need to learn this, would you guys come to Charlotte, hang out with me for a day or two? And we're not talking about I have a live event called High Performance Weekend, completely different style of event, very transformational as well. But it's going to be something. I want this to be more intimate. I want this to be very much like this, where we can sit and really I can teach you. And then from that, I can show you, once you get that knowledge, how to apply it. Oh, you're in Raleigh, you're right up the street. I love it. So if that's something you guys are interested in, I want to see it in the comments now. If you're watching this on YouTube, let me know. And when I post this, let me know, because I'm going to talk to my team later this week. And we're going to talk about the calendar, because, if you know anything about me on my lives, I be committing to stuff, and then I'm going to follow through with it. But it's really about the fact that I love hanging out with you guys. So I appreciate you all. Thank you so much for hanging out. Definitely, if you know someone, if you know an entrepreneur that's dealing with stress, that's dealing with pressure, do me a favor. Once I post this live, send this to them because it's important to me that we get this message of health, mental health, physical health, spiritual health, wellness out to people to teach them. As I said, if you're just joining me, I talked on this live about how to identify pressure. I talked about how to withstand pressure and how to stay focused under pressure. Those are the three things that we covered. So I appreciate you all. I'll let you know. I'm gonna get with my team this week. We're gonna talk about how to put together this micro event where you guys can pull up. But thank you so much. If you enjoyed this, give me some show me some love right now. If you felt like this is beneficial, and you know what? Before, let's see, what time is it? I'm actually going to take about 2 minutes. I'm going to give you guys 2 to 3 minutes and see if you guys have any questions about focus, like James right now, or pressure. I'm undergoing some stuff, blah, blah. I want to know if you guys, let's see here. If you have any questions before I head out. So take a moment and pop in that little question box and ask me some questions. I'm going to give you, because I know there's a delay, I'm going to give you about 60 seconds. Then after that, I'm getting out of here because I got to shut it down and start practice putting together everything I need for this event that I'm I'm putting together for you guys. Let's see here. Any questions? Any questions? If not, guys, I'm gonna give you a little bit longer. But again, thank you so much. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. Again, if you just joining us live, came in towards the end, the topic I talked about tonight was the process of pressure. If you find yourself under pressure currently or have been, and dealing with the pressure of entrepreneurship, the pressure of growing, the pressure of scaling, I want you to watch this live. Okay, so this is about an hour long, and I want you to tune in over the coming weeks because I see this and see the need for this. I want to keep talking to you about the things that you need to do to make sure that you don't break down under pressure, but you break through. All right, so please make sure that you check that out. Outside of that, guys, I appreciate you. I'm out. You guys have a beyond great night and a beyond great week. And I will see you guys later on. Have a good one.